You are listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robin McMahon, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. For more information on my book and other resources, check out yellingcurebook.com. Hello, everyone. Robin here. I am so happy to bring you this new topic, cultivating joy, with my friend, Andrea Ferguson. Andrea and I met not too long ago, actually, when both of our boys were playing on the same baseball team, and we were sitting beside each other. And I never ask people what they do for a living. It's funny. I never want to put a barrier between myself and somebody else. And somehow, Andrea, you and I were talking, and I asked, or you asked, I don't know how we even brought this up, but you said you were a coach. Yeah. And I said, oh, I'm a coach too. Like, what do you mean you're a coach? Like, what kind of coach are you? And you said, oh, I'm a life coach. And I said, oh, I'm a parent coach. And I think we were friends from that moment on. And we both have husbands named Corey too, which is kind of funny. So you know your good stuff. So Andrea, let me just introduce you first. Andrea is a fit mindset mentor and coach and founder of the Fit Life Method. So Andrea, welcome to Parenting Our Future. Welcome to this show and this episode. Please tell us a little bit about what you do and what the Fit Life Method is all about.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here, Robin. And I love that little intro. It was like an instant connection. So I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to be here with you. So as you mentioned, I am the founder of the Fit Life Method, and it is a method that I have founded as a result of my own personal experience and my professional experience as a coach. And I tend to work with individuals who are at a crossroads in life, where they are usually finding that they're kind of what they've always done is no longer working. And as a result, they're sort of feeling stressed and overwhelmed. They're maybe stuck in insecurity and self-doubt. And they need a new way forward, but they don't know what that way is. And they need a new way forward that's grounded in ease and flow. And it's more about how I feel rather than about controlling the external conditions. And that's what the Fit Life Method is. It's really about taking you from sort of never feeling enough to feeling like you are no matter what.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. And you know, you teach this, you live this, and you're so honest and transparent, even about your own struggles, which I so appreciate. And I joined you and a beautiful group of women at a retreat last year, and it was so amazing. And Andrea, I have to say, there are a few people that I think are as sparkly as you are. You are just, you shared so much wisdom and actually helped me through something really big in my own life after the retreat, which has stayed true to me until now. Yes, it was a big moment for me. Something that I'd been struggling in my life that wasn't really about parenting. And anyway, so you guided us through a bunch of really beautiful principles, and one of them was about cultivating joy. How often do we sit and talk about joy and how we need joy and how to get more joy? Like, that is not something I'd ever experienced before.
No, we don't think about it. We kind of, most of us are just going through life in reaction mode.
Yeah.
Right? We're just going on sort of autopilot, kind of living by default. And if we get joy, then yay. That's usually what we're seeking on some level, but we don't realize we're seeking it. Right? It's usually what we're trying to do by controlling all the conditions and the reasons why we do something. We're hoping that we're going to get that feeling, but we often don't intentionally cultivate it in our life.
Right.
And this is really about, like, how do you actually intentionally cultivate it? How do you actually decide that you are going to be joyful no matter what? Right? Rather than it happening by accident or having it based on, things that happen outside of you. So this is not something that people are generally, consciously trying to do.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially what you're saying is like joy, you can passively accept joy as it comes and goes, or you can make a choice to live a life full of joy.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, and why? Why shouldn't I just let things come to me and feel joy when it's there? Why do I need to go after it? Like, what is the benefit of that?
There's so many benefits to joy. And one of them parts for me, the deepest truth of it is joy is our innate nature, right? Joy is actually a signal that you are connected to your truth, to your soul purpose, you're in alignment with who you're meant to be in this world. To be on the deepest level, that's what joy is about. And that's why we want to connect to it, because that's where our truth is.
Wow.
The other benefits of joy, of course, is that it's the cornerstone of healing, right? When we are in a state of joy, it affects all aspects of our body. And it also, so it improves our ability to heal, and it helps prevent us from actually getting sick or it's a very protective, it's a protective state. It also allows you to be closer to others. If you think about it, like when someone's in a joyful state, right, or you're living in that kind of joyful aligned state, you're a lot more fun to be around.
This is true.
Really, you know, it's you attract it. It's attractive. Joy is attractive.
Yes.
It also helps you. You know, we're meant to have fun in life. We're meant to have enjoyment. I think sometimes we think the purpose of life is to, I don't know, what is it, to achieve something, to meet some level of success, to I don't know,
struggle,
yeah, that we're supposed to struggle. No, we don't have to struggle and suffer. It's not necessary. It's not why we've come here. Right? So I just say it's really about if we can have more fun and enjoyment in life, that makes my life more meaningful. So why not?
Well, and I think, you know, when you look at the opposite of joy is, in my opinion, would be stress. There is a stress contagion, right? We know that we are the most stressed out generation. Absolutely. Our generation, and that is affecting our children. So when we're stressed, it affects our parenting, it affects our state of mind, it affects our self-confidence. So the opposite of that is, okay, I'm going to be intentional about cultivating joy so that I can be more peaceful. And if joy is if stress is contagious, well, so would joy be then, wouldn't it? Because don't you want to be around people who are like you, sparkly and joyful, but that's not all. I mean, you're deep in your, you know, there's more to you than that. But I mean, it is an attractive quality, you know, and it isn't just surface level. There's a deepness to it too, right?
Joy comes from in here. It's a deep state. My hands are on my heart here.
Yes.
Meaning joy isn't a surface level. It's not a surface level experience. It is a deep internal state. Right? And when we're connected to that joy, we actually we put an energy out there, and we attract the match for that too. So life begins to flow in much different ways where you're in this is what I call a higher vibe state. Joy is a higher vibe state. And so you begin to attract life experiences, people, and situations that also are a match for that higher vibe state. We had a really fun experience when I was in a training where we were learning about this in a certification program I was in. And we had an actual job, all the people in the group, that we were all to go out for dinner. We were to be joy instigators. Oh, so much fun. So it was to be in our own joy. So we were with probably about 8 of us. And we were to go out there and to be tuned into our own joy, which we because we were all together, we were all connected like that. It was easy for us to be. And we were to go out into the world. We went out for dinner and went walking around the town. And you should have seen the difference that the experience we had simply from being in that energy. It was the coolest thing, from the waiters we talked to the bartender, to the walking through the streets. People were like waving at us, and it wasn't that we were like running down the streets waving our hands. It was just the energy we were emitting. And I remember walking out of the restaurant. It was a really low vibe when we went in, and we like picked the whole place up. And I saw the guy just as we were leaving, and he was like, "What was that? Like, what was that?" Like, he didn't even know what happened to them. And so it was just, we were being so connected and just expressing joy and appreciation, and it shifted the whole energy of the space.
Yes.
It was really cool.
That is so good. It kind of makes me want to cry. Like, I can feel that. I really feel that. I want to be a joy instigator. Yeah, I want to do that too.
And we all can be, and we can be that person in our families too.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So you can be that person in your family, and it's a game changer. It shifts the state of our experience in our home, which of course then our kids experience it and then head out into the world being able to do the same.
You know, I love that you said that, because one of the things that comes up a lot with the clients that I work with is, well, how do I get my child to get into the bath? How do I get them to brush their teeth? How do I get them to flush the toilet when I say flush the toilet? And so I'm like, well, have you ever tried to have fun with it? Have you ever tried to say, like, I bet you can't flush the toilet with your elbow? Or let's transform tubby time into an underwater adventure, or, you know, like, that's play and fun and joy. And I think we're just so serious because we got to get stuff done that we forget, like, oh, wait a second, like, we could have fun together. Like, this could be fun. We're still getting stuff done, but why does it have to be so serious?
Totally agree. And that's life. Like, absolutely, as parent, totally agree with you as parent. And that's life too. Why does it have to be so serious? Why does it have to be so struggling? Why can't we have fun doing this? I actually said to my husband this morning, I'm like, gosh, I love this way of living. Like, it's fun. Why would you choose anything else? Right? So
no, 100%.
Everything becomes a match for what you put out there. So if you're kind of fighting and battling things, that's the energy you're gonna get back. So if you can let go a little and be in that state of joy, things flow a lot more easily.
You just had a recent experience that was pretty cool, if you don't mind sharing. So talking about changing your vibe and you attract things to you, what did you just attract to you?
Yeah, I think this is a really cool, bit of a cool story. So I'll give it a bit of a preface here. So in the past, and I can speak to this because of the way I was before. So in the past, my perception was, or my belief system was, that I had to control my life, control the conditions of my life. So have a certain job, have a certain maybe appearance, have the relationships and people needed to behave a certain way in my life in order for me to have joy. That was what I used to believe, right? And so I used to have this thing like, oh, I want this house that it feels this certain way, because when I have that house, then I'll be joyful. Then I'll be happy. Then I can be content. But until then, you know, I'm going to be annoyed and irritated that I have this house that it's not a match. This is not a match for what I wanted. That was my old way, right? I didn't get that house that I wanted, right? Because I was always trying to control those conditions and my energy behind it was often kind of fear.
Okay.
So as I've done this work and done the work of really connecting to my truth and clearing those old beliefs and those old patterns, I discovered that while I always desired to have this house that was a reflection of me, I was always coming from fear before. And now my internal state is that no matter what's going on outside of me, I have the same house. No matter, I can find joy, I can find peace, and I can find that no matter what's going on outside of me. So I really make a practice every single day of coming from that place. So I get into the vibe and the feeling of the home, and I love and appreciate the home that I have. And I was thinking, and part of that practice is tuning into the desires that I feel from this space. And one of this is having a transformational, surprise, surprise, I want a transformational experience within my home. And that would bring me tremendous joy. And when I tuned in it from that space, it was like, it would bring me so much fun. Like, that's a core piece of who I am, is to create this transformation with my physical space. So it's a match for who I am, match for my energy. And I can't wait to design the space. And I've already been doing it in my mind and on Pinterest to design this beautiful spaces that a match for my energy and of my family. So I envision it. Brought a designer in and to kind of map it out. I have this reno in mind and keep visioning it. And then all of a sudden I see this thing on Facebook that says, win a free kitchen upgrade. And I was like, who wins a free kitchen upgrade? And I was like, oh, I do. You know, it was like that, kind of like, oh, I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen a gift or prize quite like that. Maybe it has, but it's sort of, so anyways, just come into our grand opening thing, put your name in the draw, and you may win. So I just stayed in the energy of like loving this home and having this experience. I didn't attach to whether I was going to win the things. I didn't know. It wasn't up to me. And I just stayed in the energy of just visioning my home and the joy of this feeling of this being in this space. And then in my life, staying connected to that space. And I won the upgrade. I won this free kitchen upgrade, which is, I don't know, how do you?
That's amazing that you went in there saying like, yeah, I could win this. And you did.
I did. I definitely had, of course I could win this. Why wouldn't I? And I also, because it was like, I know my state. I'm in a high attraction state when I'm coming from a place of joy.
Yeah. Yes. That is so, I love that. Thank you for sharing that story, because that is just so cool. And I think what I heard you say is that really you took a space and your energy and your thoughts about the space, not your energy, your thoughts about the space, sort of fighting against the space doesn't really reflect you, but you also came to an acceptance of it too, right? Like I still do love this space. This is my home. This is where my family is, so I can accept it. But how fun would it be to have a transformation? Is that right? That's what you said. And then you really
entirely different.
Yes.
And then I'm in joy now. I'm not waiting for the home to bring me joy.
Yes.
I'm in joy now. And then what fun will it be to have it even more reflecting right now and be a match? And that's the energy shift. And we can do this with anything in our relationships, in our workplace. We can bring this into anything. It's just a small example as it relates to home, but
yes. Awesome. I love it. Okay. So when it comes to joy, you know, it's funny because I think that some people don't feel like they are worthy of joy, right? And so you have, like, there are joy stealers that you have, that you talked about. So can you tell me what some of those joy stealers are?
Yes. So a little bit of preface. Often what we do when we decide, okay, cool, I've learned this new thing that I can actually choose joy and I can cultivate it in my life. And so we kind of say, okay, I want to live here. And I call this the higher vibe state. So I'm going to live at joy. But if we've been existing this lower vibe energy, which is often fear, insecurity, self-doubt, it's not really a match, right? So So what happens is often when we decide to live at this joy place, we're not used to this. This is unfamiliar. So we're kind of find that when we begin to kind of operate there or try to move there, we'll discover that we do something. We have a set point, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a level with which we're comfortable to experience that level of joy. And that when we hit that set point, we do things to bring it back down. The set point is just basically a false ceiling.
Okay, right? False ceiling.
Ceiling. It's something that's based on our conditioning, right? That I have a limit here. So I can experience joy for this amount of time, but then it begins to feel uncomfortable because I'm not used to it, because I don't usually operate there. So then I do things to bring myself down, right? To my familiar zone, which is maybe insecurity, self-doubt, or whatever, fill it in. So those things that will cause you, when you hit that limit, are things like worry. So you may, when you hit your joy limit, you may start to worry about stuff, right? When you hit that ceiling, it's like, oh, and worry is just a habit. Mm-hmm. And we sit there, oh, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And we get into worrying about stuff. Another thing we do is we focus on the negative, right? So we focus on what the lack of something. We focus on what's not working. We focus on all the ways or things in our life that aren't going the way that we want them to. That's a choice. We can actually choose to focus on what's going well as well.
So I just want to clarify. So if we have this ceiling, this false ceiling, and I'm using my hands too to describe it, this false ceiling of joy, once we get to that, it's like, okay, well, is it like, this is too good to be true? Then we start worrying, or that's what you're saying. Okay. So we get to this place and then we're kind of talking ourselves out of it. Like, okay, I don't deserve this, or I'm going to okay, well, yeah, it must be nice to feel this way, but like, I can't because I still have bills to pay, or my kid, the school just called and my kid is in trouble. Yep. So I can't continue feeling this way because now other things are happening.
Right. So the things outside of me are preventing me from experiencing that, right? So exactly, the school called, my kid behaved a certain way, the thing at the job happened, people at my work said this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so, and that gets in your way of feeling consistent joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which kind of makes sense, right? And our brains too are tilted to the negative, right? We have a negativity bias. So, and that's because of survival. We need to survive, right? So the things that aren't good, usually in our caveman brain, are the things that were going to hurt us, kill us, make us sick. And the good things, well, weren't as important because, well, they were just lovely, nice, whatever. So it takes 10 great things to equal the one negative thing that we are going to focus on, right? So it's really practice. Like, you've got to be dedicated to it. Yeah.
It's recognizing that that's what's happening. That's not actual truth. It's just that this is sort of the conditioning that we have that is causing this. And when you can recognize this is just my conditioning, it's not actually truth, and that I can actually choose to see this differently or focus on this differently, we can begin to have a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So really, this is the same with intentional parenting too. So being intentional about what your thoughts are, what your beliefs are, what your actions are. All of that is important. So intentionally saying, so one of the tools that you would, how would you do that? So I'm in a joyful state right now, and then boom, the school calls, my kid's in trouble, I got to go talk to the principal. How do I maintain my joy when this is one of my biggest fears?
Mm-hmm. So to me, it's all life perspective. And I have a life perspective. I call it a fully in tune life perspective, or fit life perspective, that everything is happening for me and for my children and for the people in my world. Everything's happening for me. So I don't see this thing as a bad thing happening. I see it as an opportunity. And what when I go to the school and I find out what's happening, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna see that there's an opportunity for me there, maybe a growth opportunity for both me and my child. Mm. And that if something happened, it's something that it's an opportunity for us to teach my child something. So let's say they behaved a certain way, or they overreacted in a certain way, or they did something that was, hurtful. There's an opportunity for me to teach. There's an opportunity for me to grow in that moment too, which is, how can I stay in my joy and stay grounded, knowing that this is a teachable learning moment for all of us here. And that allows us to expand and grow. And that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity for us to actually develop some skills together. Right. Or there's some lessons to be learned. So a perspective shift is powerful.
Yeah,
so
I
don't
agree.
Wreck my taking me out of joy. I just go, okay, there's an opportunity for us here. And the more you can, and how is this happening for me? And what can we get out of this? How can we grow from this? And that's a really powerful perspective shift.
Yeah.
Maintain your state.
Yeah. In fact, I say the same thing in a slightly different way. I look at every meltdown, tantrum, disrespect, all of that stuff as an opportunity for connection. Yes. It's like, okay, so you said you hate me. Okay. I hear that. But like, what's underneath? Like, let's talk about why, like, what's going on with you? No, it's not okay to yell at me and say you hate me, but this is obviously something is off. So we need to go and figure it out. Yeah. Right. That's all it is. It's always just a conversation. It's it's how do we work this out? It's a puzzle to be solved is the way I say and look at it. Okay. So, so there's so much I want to talk about. I want to just there's a couple of questions that you asked us in this workshop that we did together that I really liked, and I wonder if you could pose those questions to our listeners as well. Yeah.
So are we talking about the negative joy beliefs? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, even just getting people to think about what their joy memory is, right? That what is that? How does that help, and what is that about?
Yeah, great question. So sometimes often we're going through life because we're not really tuned into joy. We don't actually know what it feels like. Yeah. We forget. Sometimes I've done this before where it was like, what's joy? I remember the first time I even asked this question, like, what's joy? What does it feel like? Mm-hmm. And so how do we get to joy, and how do we experience more joy if we don't even know what it feels like? And it's actually a feeling in our body. And so a tool I use to help you get there would be to call up a joy memory. So usually what I would have you do is just to sit quietly and get grounded. So just sitting in your chair and just closing your eyes. And when you close your eyes, it's just about, think of something, a memory. I always like to put my hand on my heart, but to me that's a grounded space. And I just kind of think about, what is something like a memory that it reminds me of, it's a joyful memory. What's my joy memory? And I'll close my eyes and I'll just allow something to come to me. And then I'll really think about that memory, and I think about it, and all of a sudden I'll feel my heart swell. And so this is how I experience joy. And you'll notice how you experience joy. So for me, it's my heart starts to swell. It's like a smile is on my face. And it's like this all encompassing, oh, yes, this. Right. And I have it. There's a moment in my mind that I can go to really quickly, and it's my memory where it's like, yeah, and that moves me into a state of connection right away. And it's really going, hey, this is the place that I want to come from. So you can call up that joy memory whenever you're needing to be reminded. You may need to take a few minutes to get grounded first, especially if you're in a heightened or a low vibe state or a heightened state. You may need to just do some breathing and then just call up that memory in order for you to get there.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Because yeah, I agree. We've got to know where we want to get to first, so that we know when we're there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feeling in your body. We often are still living in our heads, and we want to eat. So the memory might come in your head first, but you want to take that and really feel it in your body.
Okay? Because like you said, it's a full body experience, right? Just like anger activates every muscle and organ in your body, joy can be similar to that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You are currently listening to the Parenting Our Future podcast. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And please don't forget to subscribe, and I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating on iTunes. If you'd like to connect with me, all my details are in the show notes, and for a copy of my book, go to yellingcurebook.com. Now back to the show. Okay, so when we've got these situations, right, where we have the joy and the school calls, yes, we have, it's an opportunity, there's a perspective shift, but we're not practiced in that, right? And so sometimes we get into these thoughts that I think we probably think are true, but maybe aren't. And there's this thing such as foreboding joy that we've talked about, right? And along with this foreboding joy comes these negative beliefs. So tell us about those negative beliefs that we think are true, but don't really serve us.
Yeah, it's super important for us to catch our stories, right? So catch the things we tell ourselves that cause us to forebode joy or to limit the amount of joy we have in our lives. And so some really common ones could look like this. I'm going to just give you a few examples. So I will be considered strange or odd if I'm joyful most of the time. It's like, who's joyful all the time? People are going to think I'm weird, or I'm going to be odd, or, I'm not going to fit in if I'm joyful.
Yeah.
Being joyful is meant for people who aren't serious about life, right? I'm serious about what I'm doing, and I'm a serious person, and I'm a successful person, or what are your beliefs around that? Can you be joyful and also achieve? Can you be joyful and also be, what's the word, focused? Again, we sometimes have these notions about what being joyful means.
Can I be a big deal and still be joyful?
Which really comes down to, I can't have fun and be productive.
Right.
Which that really comes down to some of our parenting things, right? We're like, well, we just got to get this stuff done, right?
There's no time for smiling right now. There's no time for giggling and laughing. Right? Get your homework done. Yeah. Work could be fun too.
Yeah. And the energy you bring really shifts how you experience it. So, or I don't deserve to be joyful. Right? That can be a real thing for us where we don't believe we deserve to have the level of satisfaction and joy in our lives, right?
I would bet that's number one.
Yeah, and that's a self-worth thing.
Yeah. We don't deserve it because of X, Y, and Z, or whatever story you're telling yourself. But like you said, that is our natural state. Like that's we are joyful beings. So yeah, you don't need to have done anything to earn the right to be joyful, or anything that negates your right to be joyful.
And we often believe it's earned, right? So when I achieve this, or when I do this, when I make somebody happy, then I can be. That's often very joyful is often very conditional, meaning we have conditions on our ability to experience it and deserve it.
Yeah.
Or here's another one. Here's another big one. Is if I'm joyful, something bad will happen.
Yeah.
That's when the other shoe will drop. So that's often what our set point can be about too. Is I'm up here, and that it's just safer to stay out of the extremes, and I'll live in the middle. Just feel safer there.
And I've experienced that too. Like when things have gone really great with my husband, for example, then I think that I've caught myself thinking, I hope he doesn't die now. Like I'd be so heartbroken. Like, what is that? Where did that come from? But I have thought that. So
yeah. And that will be something we definitely will trigger self-sabotaging behavior, right?
Yes.
We'll go into worry, we'll go into judgment, we'll focus on the past, or we'll do something to try and bring ourselves back down. Right? So we bring ourselves back down rather than waiting for something outside of us to bring ourselves back down. Right?
Yes.
We control the drop. rather than waiting for some. The thing is, when you start to live intentionally, you recognize you're always in control of your internal state. That's the skill we want to develop, and that nothing outside can actually do that. Then it becomes very, very safe to live at a higher vibe state.
Right. Nothing outside can ruin your joy or really create your joy, right? That's what you're saying too, right? Like it's really a choice.
And every time we put our joy in something outside of us, like that thing over there is going to bring me joy. We also are recognizing that we're putting the thing that's going to take, giving our power to that thing, which means we're also giving our power to the thing that's going to take it away. Either way, we don't have the power. Right. So we don't want to have our power outside of us, right? We want to have our power, centered in here, and recognizing that we are each in charge of our own internal state. And when we do that, you don't have to worry about the drop. Right?
Yeah, that's pretty big, I gotta say. It's a pretty big deal, because I'm even thinking like, okay, so I'm feeling joyful, I'm having a great day, and I pick my kids up and one of them is complaining and is rude, is whatever. Like, that doesn't have to suck me. I don't have to get sucked into that. I can say, gosh, it sounds like you're having a bad day, but I can still be joyful. It sounds like you're feeling some feelings right now, or you're just, whatever. But that doesn't have to mean that I gotta lose my joy. And in fact, my joy will help combat my child's big feelings, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so this
will help them.
Yeah. Okay. So this is all awesome in theory, but like, let's get down to business. Like, I want to know some joy techniques. I want to know how I get it. One of the things I always talk about is gratitude, right? Gratitude gets you joy. I have a whole podcast dedicated to it that has already been released. So what other things besides that? Because there's lots of other ways to create joy. Okay, tell us.
So one of the things I recommend people doing when they just begin this work, or this practice, I like to say practice. It's a practice. It's an ongoing practice.
It's not about perfection, right?
No, it's not a practice that we can do. We have to continue to do. It's a continual practice. That gets easier and easier as you go.
Yes.
Right? As you practice it. So one of the things I like to recommend is a 7-day negativity detox.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
Yes. So this is kind of going on a media diet, and it's really beginning for you, or it's allowing you to become aware of what sucks your joy. Right? So what you engage in on social media has a huge impact on your internal state. It can have a huge impact on your internal state. So especially when you're first starting, it can be really, really helpful not to engage in anything that's negative. So see, when you go on social media, I cultivate my social media feed very intentionally, meaning I engage with things that are a vibe match that I want to experience. So I don't engage in the negative things. I don't engage in that kind of stuff. I try not to click on the stuff that's really negative. So go on a detox and only pay attention to and engage with the things that are sort of joyful or positive. Or try not to complain for a week.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
You'll like, wow, like you'll just see how much of it you actually are creating. So see if you can avoid complaining for a week. Unless you're planning to address the situation. So you may kind of feel like this is a situation that's not working for me, but how am I going to address it? How am I going to deal with it in a positive way? Right? Because it's not about avoiding everything negative. It's about how can I address something and not engage in it in a negative way, but how can I turn it into something that's a positive, or to at least find a solution for it. Try not to worry. So a detox would be just not worrying about yourself or worrying about anyone else. That's a big challenge, especially as a parent. That's a habit, is to worry. We often think worrying is love, right? Worry, but I often think that worrying is actually sort of disabling.
Worry is all about taking you out of this moment and focusing on the future that isn't even assured yet. We don't even know what the future holds for us. So it takes you out of now. So I agree. Worrying is it's kind of a default that we all do, though, isn't it? But it is so counterproductive. Yeah.
Habit. It's just just think of habit, and it's something that you may have learned along the way as a means to keep yourself safe. Right.
But true.
So
True.
we can just gently, lovingly remind ourselves when we slip into some of these habits to just, I choose to create love, I choose to follow joy, I choose to, so it's really about setting some intentions about what you want to experience instead. Right? So you could just take 7 days to play with this, right? And to kind of really, see if you can tune into more of the positive vibe rather than the low vibe.
Oh, that is so great. That is so great. Well, okay. So speaking of action, so that is one amazing suggestion to do that, that whole detox. Now, one of the things that you have is a joy plan. And so this is something we're going to include in the show notes, because like, it's one thing to talk about joy, but we want to give everybody listening some actual steps to do, because I want everyone to feel joy. I want more joy in my own life, and I want joy for everybody who's listening, because boy, do we ever deserve it. The world is complicated enough. Like, let's be those joy instigators too, right? Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to spread some joy today. I mark my words. That's what I'm going to do today. And always.
So simple. And that is smiling at the person when you're going through the checkout counter. It's saying hi. It's having a smile on your face. And as you begin to smile and it uplifts you. It can be so simple, right? How can you engage and be thankful and grateful in every little action and appreciate, celebrate things? Like, we're so focused on where we're not and what's lacking, and we don't also notice on the little progresses, the little things that go well. Celebrate those things.
And it's those little things that are so easy to disregard, or to say they're neutral, or to say they're insignificant. But those are the things that can bring you joy, because it's, and I've said this many times, it's not about looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. It's noticing what's also true. It's not a lie. It's also true, right? Yes.
It's choosing your focus.
Yes.
You can choose to focus on what still has to be changed, or it's not there yet, or you can choose to focus on all the progress, all the things that have already happened, or what's already going well.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, by the time this airs, it will be just after Canadian Thanksgiving, and before the US Thanksgiving. So think about this too, at this time of the year, like gratefulness and gratitude is on our minds, right? And part of gratitude and all of this stuff is taking those little things that are also true. It's something I do all the time. I really take time to really enjoy my coffee and how it feels all the way through my body, right? Same with my ice cold water, or even my lip balm. I mean, it's like, it sounds ridiculous, but it feels really good, and I really enjoy it, and I take it in because it does bring me joy, right?
It's all those small things. All those small things add up. We're always waiting for the big thing, right? And it's like, but in order to really experience the big thing that we think, whatever, it's about, it really happens in all those small moments.
Yeah.
So it does require us to be present. There's all those small moments, and really about, in those moments, choosing. You have a choice every single moment about how you show up. You get to decide every single moment how you choose to perceive it. You can choose to see it through the lens of love, or through the lens of connection. That's what too. And see everything as an opportunity. And when you do that, there's a huge shift that you'll experience, or find the joy in the smallest things. Sunset. I love to sit on my front deck and have a coffee and just sit there and enjoy just the quiet.
Yeah.
It's joy.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's those small things you got to take in. Absolutely. I love it. So, okay. So this joy plan, I'm just going to run through the questions that you put in here. It will be in the show notes. Okay. So you, to create the plan, your questions are, what are you going to do on a daily basis to live connected to joy? Right? These can be small things. Don't forget, this is not a job. This is not another thing on your to-do list. This is like what is already happening that you can take in, right? Don't make work for yourself. This is what you're already taking in. What things are you going to plan in the future to bring you joy? So that's very intentional, right? So,
and we are so often about bringing our future so focused on like security. Like it's, do you know what I mean? What you want to experience? Like, what brings you just like, oh man, that would be so much fun to experience? Is it singing lessons? Is it dancing lessons? Is it a trip somewhere? Is it, I don't know, like we gotta have fun in our life too.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And what changes are you going to make in your life to bring you more joy? And you say here, identify what kind of support you will need to make these changes. Soul community, support group, one-on-one coaching, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it helps to be like who you're, remember your vibe, like are other people's vibe, especially if you're an empath. I'm not sure if you've read that, but some people are empath. I am an empath, so I take on other people's energy. So it's super important to be surrounded by other people who are trying to be more joyful too. It's a lot easier when you're surrounded by other positive, uplifting people. So find those
Yeah.
people in your world.
Yeah, I agree. And when you are surrounded by those who are not cultivating their own joy, it does bring you down. There's no doubt, that vibe, right? Because you do get sucked into it. The energy is contagious, right? It's the contagion. It's
Yeah,
all
it
of
is.
that. So
Energy is contagious. That's a perfect way to say it. Whether it's
yeah,
positive or high vibe or low vibe, is contagious.
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes that does, like you say, require some change in order to do that. Yeah. Okay. And then identify a joy buddy. Oh my God, that's the best.
Yeah. So who can hold you accountable, and then hold each other accountable, right? So
Mm,
someone who's also doing this and working on this and practicing this, and you can do this together. It's a lot more
I
fun when you
love
do
it.
this together. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the practical thing though. So let me just ask you, like, this is all beautiful and wonderful, but you and I are both pragmatists, right? You and I both, like, look, life still happens, right? So what happens when I'm going through this? And again, I know I need to remind myself that everything is an opportunity, right? But what happens when those thoughts start to creep back, right? Because what I know about the brain and the way things work is, those are neural pathways that we've created, right? That are deeply ingrained in our brain. And these new thoughts and new beliefs that we're creating new neural pathways too, right? And your brain's going to choose the one that's been ingrained for a longer time versus the new little one. I think of it like cross country skiing tracks, right?
Yeah.
The old belief that I'm not worthy and blah 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 are those cross country skiing tracks that are deeply entrenched in the snow. That's where you go. This one, the new belief, is like a little stick in the snow, just a little, just a little indent. Yeah, and you've got to think it over and over and over again. But what do you do if you're stuck and you're going back to that regular way of thinking? What can you do to stop yourself from that, from getting yourself out of joy?
So I like to think about it as we create an intentional practice. So for me, this is a daily morning practice. So for me, every morning I start my day intentionally, which is I get into that state. So for me, I use meditation, I use visualization, I do breath work. Those are my most common ones. So you can pick your own. You do it. You can do it. I call this a connection practice. So I start my day from there, right? And I may affirm affirmations too. So it may be something where I get into that, where I'm starting to believe and affirm my new identity. And the new identity is a match for what I want, so that I am joyful. I'm comfortable feeling joy. So I get into that state, and I have this morning practice, a morning ritual, where this is where I begin my day like this. So this is where you it's a bit proactive, right? Now, when you are beginning to change, anytime you're going through a process of change or changing beliefs, you may have to put this practice into play more often, right? So it's about, okay, I need to quiet things down and I need to come back into my state. You may go through and you're going to get through a state with your kid and you're like, oh, I didn't do it. But even if afterwards you make the correction and you get into that state, okay, and then you go forward. You're going to do this imperfectly. This isn't going to be a perfect, this again, we're training the brain. The more you practice it, right, with it, and intentionally, the easier it gets in the moment, right? So it's just a practice, right? And so I like to, I suggest it to everyone. I say, my clients and stuff, I say it all the time. It's like your connection practice. It's got to be a daily thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I also do is I have a free PDF on my website, and it's basically a 5 super simple steps to raise your vibe. And it's actually a process you can go through when you are caught. So when you're stuck, not being able to get into joy, or you're just trying to practice getting into it, it's just 5 steps that you can go through to get there.
Right? Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got the plan, and then the backup is the steps, the 5 simple steps, right? That you just to raise your vibe. Yeah. Okay. So that is that sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah,
That's
and
like,
you do when you because you will. You're gonna go. That's the reality of the human experience. We have all these beautiful emotions for a reason, right? And so you will go up and down, especially when you first start trying this. That's normal. So 1-8, that's normal. That's okay. And as you begin to rewire and as you begin to practice, that's when things become that will eventually become your new normal. Joy will become your new normal. So if you just apply the 5 simple steps over and over again,
yes,
you can get there. You may need work, but that's something. Obviously some people might, and
that's why you gotta have a joy, buddy.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta have a joy. But the other thing, I mean, it just stuff does happen. We get into habits, but this is a great way of just bringing you back. And the thing that I keep hearing from you is this is a practice, right? I know you're saying that word intentionally. Let's everyone give up the idea that things need to look and be perfect. Let's take the word should, like I should be doing this or I should be like this. None of that helps us, right? None of it helps us. So let's just embrace imperfection. And this is a practice. I say peaceful parenting is a practice. I personally commit every day to being a peaceful parent. I have to, because my default setting is not so peaceful. My default setting is not to ask questions first. It's to it's the opposite, because that's the conditioning that I'm fighting against, right? So every day I practice that too. So Andrea, thank you. This was such an awesome conversation. I hope everybody really enjoyed what you have to say. You have so much more to say, and you're coming back. I've got you coming back in December and January to talk about some other topics that I know you just know so much about. So Andrea, what we're going to do is we're going to put the Joy Plan in the show notes. People can find you. What's your website?
TheFitLifeMethod.com.
TheFitLifeMethod.com. Andrea, mindset mentor and life coach, you are awesome. Thank you. It has been my joy to have you here today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin. It's been my pleasure and joy to be here.
Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.